Hello, and welcome to tonight's Bible study. One thing I wanted to talk about tonight was the end times and return of the Lord. Today, there's so many voices out there when we're talking about the return of the Lord, and so many people talking about the times and the seasons, and a lot of times you could be listening to something and it's really interesting, and it is important to know the seasons and the feast days, blood moons, solar eclipses, all that stuff. But a lot of times, what I've noticed is there's something big coming up, which there has been in the past, and then those things happen and go away, and you're still here waiting for the return of the Lord. It almost seems like at that time, it's going to happen now. Look at what's happening. And not that those things aren't important or to take note of. The Bible talks about, signs in the sun and moon and the stars, but yet it gets to the point where if you are so excited about that, and then the event happens, and then you're still here, and it's a long time afterwards, you can end up running into a problem if that's what you're following. So, with so many signs happening out there, and so many people interpreting them, and so everybody having a word and something that's going to happen, and you see it all the time, with so many voices and so many signs. The title tonight is not "What time is it?" but "What sign is it?" What sign are we looking for? What did the Lord say? Some basic things that we should be looking for prior to his return. So let's start in Matthew 24. Jesus was talking about the destruction of the temple, and he sat on the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came to him privately saying, "Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" So they kind of asked him three things here in Matthew 24. When will these things be? Destruction of the temple. What will be the sign of your coming before you come back, and the end of the age? The first thing Jesus says is, "Take heed no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many." So people are going to come claiming to be him. You'll hear of wars and rumors of wars. That's happening today, right now. See that you're not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Nation will rise against nation. Now, I've heard that could be people group against people group, like ethnicities. Kingdom against kingdom, big nations warring against each other, coming against each other. We see that today. There will be famines. We see that today. Pestilences, COVID and other diseases, earthquakes in various or strange places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Remember, the tribulation is God's wrath. These are the beginnings of it. So earthquakes is another thing to be looking for. Then they'll deliver you up to tribulation and kill you. You'll be hated by all for my name's sake. Many will be offended and betray one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. You've got to watch what you're listening to and judge every prophetic word by the word of God. And because lawlessness will abound, we see that happening today. The love of many will grow cold. We see that happening today. People are so self-focused on themselves and, money and living their best life. The love of many will grow cold. He who endures to the end shall be saved. So even the time leading up to the return of the Lord and the start of the tribulation, there's going to be an endurance to it. The gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all nations, and then the end will come. So, therefore, and now he goes on to talk about the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet, and he's talking about the Jews, and they're going to have to flee and not look back when they get out of there. We're going to skip ahead a little bit here. If anyone says to you, "Look, here's the Christ," there do not believe it, or there do not believe it. False Christs, false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. So we'll see when that happens. That may be a tribulation thing, or it could be before. Always judge these things that you see by the word of the Lord. Therefore, if they say to you, "Look, he's in the desert," do not go out, or "Look, he's in the inner rooms," do not believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. He's coming back in an instant. That's where we're going to meet the Lord in the air. So he's saying, I'm not going to be on the earth here. He's pulling us out of here. We're going to meet him up in the air. Immediately after the tribulation, he's going to return. The sun will be dark and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven. The powers of the earth will be shaken. The sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they'll see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So now you're talking about the return of the Lord. You're going to see him. For the rapture, he's not going to be seen. Learn this parable from the fig tree. Now I've heard that said that's Israel. When its branch has already become tender, puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. Or if you're just looking at a fig tree, when its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know summer is near. So also, when you see all these things, know that it is near at the doors. So sometimes at the doors doesn't seem like it's at the doors to us. It could seem like it's a little bit longer, but in God's time frame, it is almost here. So when we see the things that he spoke of before, people claiming to be Jesus, wars and rumors of wars, nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom, famine, pestilence, earthquakes in various places, false prophets, lawlessness abounding, the love of many growing cold, and then we're going to have to endure until he comes back. So those are some things we should be looking for, regardless of new moons, festivals, and all these other things that we're taking note of and that are kind of on the increase. When is it going to happen? But of that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, but my Father only. Now we're going to talk about something and elaborate on this. I'm going to say it now. But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days of before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage until the day Noah entered the ark. They did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. He goes on to say in verse 42, watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. Then in that was verse 42. In verse 44, therefore also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming an hour you do not expect. So if, in fact, everything was going according to a lot of feast days that used to happen and that they used to pay attention to, you would think that in that case, right, you could nail down kind of the time of the year and maybe even those couple days. But then you would have no hope prior to that, and you'd lose hope after that. If those are the only couple days of the year the Lord could return, around Rosh Hashanah time, I've heard it preached. But right here he says, watch therefore, you do not know what hour the Lord is coming. Be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. So you need to be ready all the time and waiting. Have hope all the time. Have hope every day. He's not nailed down to any one thing. So 1 Corinthians 15, 51 to 53, behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet, that's at the Feast of Trumpets, the Tekiah Gedalah, the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible will put on incorruption, and the mortal will put on immortality. In 1 Thessalonians 4, 16 to 18, for the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, with the trumpet of God, and the dead of Christ will rise first. That's not the second coming. This is the rapture. The second coming, they're going to see the Son of Man, the sign of the Son of Man will be in the air. They're all going to see him and mourn. They're not mourning here. He's coming. He's going to shout. We're going to hear it. Then we who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and thus we shall also be with the Lord. Therefore, comfort one another with these words. We're getting out of here before it all starts, before it all happens. He's coming back for us in the clouds. We're going to hear it. When Jesus was transfigured on the mount, they heard the voice, but some of them heard the voice, and some of them said it was an angel, and some of them said it thundered. When Jesus comes back with a trumpet and a shout and we're out of here, people may hear something, but they're not going to know what it was. They'll have all kinds of theories. Once again, Mark 13:32, but of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven nor the Son, but only my Father. Be ready at all times. Matthew 16:3. Now we're going to get into something a little different here. In the morning it'll be foul weather today. The sky is red and threatening. He's telling them, hypocrites, you know how to discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. What signs? The signs that he gave us in Matthew 24. And also, Matthew 24:37 to 39. We're going to elaborate a little bit more on these last two and these couple points here. But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, what were they doing? Now you hear a lot of things about all the confusion in the world and what's going to happen. And they almost talk about there's, going to be this Mad Max type world and everything soon. And everything's going to fall apart. After the tribulation starts, they have no idea what they're in for, because what were they doing in the days of Noah, this exceedingly wicked generation, right before the judgment came? They were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Yeah, there's going to be crazy times coming. The Bible talks about perilous times will come, insane times before he comes back. Yes, there's going to be the wicked, and the love's growing cold, and there's lawlessness and wars and rumors of wars. But that's nothing compared to the tribulation. It's still going to be every day, business as usual. Get up, you go to work, you come home, totally unsuspecting what's going to come upon the unbelievers and people that aren't watching and ready for him. Luke 17:28-30, likewise, as it was also in the days of Lot. They ate, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built. But on the day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even so it will be in the days when the Son of Man is revealed. When Lot went and told his relative, they seemed to be joking. No one listened to Lot. They all thought he was just this righteous stick-in-the-mud guy. They didn't like him, but they were doing everything that they normally did. Ate, drank, bought, sold, planted, and built until he left. See, until the church is out of here, it's going to be, yes, stressful. Yes, it's going to be an endurance, and you're going to see a lot of things beginning to happen. But they have no idea what's coming for them. Now, let's talk about Sodom a little bit more. Ezekiel 16:49-50 says, look, this was the iniquity of your sister Sodom. She and her daughter had pride. You see that today. A lot of pride out there today. Fullness of food. People have enough to eat today. Even the poor people in our country have plenty to eat. And abundance of idleness. A lot of people today don't want to work. Abundance of idleness. Sitting around. They're not striving and eating out of dumpsters. I mean, I'm sure in some parts of the world they are, and things are a lot hungry. I think maybe this is, more of an American spin on it for me. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy, and they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Therefore I took them away as I saw fit. You see that today. People are haughty today. Think they can do whatever they want. Commit abomination before me. You've seen that. You know what the abominations and the things, the men of Sodom, it says, were excessively wicked, and all the sins that they did. You see that happening today. A sinful generation is out there. So as we're waiting and watching and enduring and reading these signs of the times and taking note of some other things too, solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, and things like that, and how all that relates to the feast days, but watching and being ready for the Lord every day, 2 Peter 3:2-4 says that you may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets and of the commandment of us, the apostles of the Lord and Savior, knowing first that scoffers will come in the last days, walking according to their own lust, saying, where's the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. Now, scoffers, people that are going to mock it, that are going to think it's not true, that are going to think that he's not coming back. Crazy Christians talking about that. You've been talking about that for so long. You were talking about that back in 2012, 13, 14, 15 with all your lunar eclipses and solar eclipses and with all that stuff. You were talking about afterwards with that other sign and that other thing that you thought and said was going to happen. You guys are crazy. But guess what? The world is still going on just like it was then. That's a scoffer. That's not a believer yearning for the Lord's return and saying, God, when? I know it's going to happen, but when? Get us out of here. We're yearning for his return. Comforting each other, saying that he's coming back. Comfort each other with these words. It's going to end. We're going to be out of here. We're going to miss the wrath. God hasn't appointed us to wrath. Scoffers are out there today. And a lot of times, why would people be scoffing? Because everything's still going on like normal, like the days of Noah and the days of Sodom. They're being wicked. They're doing their own thing. The world isn't collapsing. So why should I listen to those crazy Christians? Why should I listen to Lot when he's coming and telling me we got to get out of here? This place is going to be destroyed. It's almost like the people are standing in the road and can't see the car coming. We see the car coming. We know the car is coming. Do we know exactly when it's going to hit them? No, but we know it's coming. And we're there telling them, get out of the way, get out of the way. And they're like, what do you mean get out of the way? I don't see anything coming. You're crazy. You've been saying that car is coming for a long time. Still not here. Those are the scoffers. And we're to tell them. So what do we do as we're waiting and hoping and comforting each other and enduring? Matthew 24:45-51. Who then is a faithful and wise servant whom his master made ruler over his household to give him food in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his master when he comes will find so doing. Assuredly I say to you that he will make him ruler over all his goods. But if that evil servant says in his heart, my master is delaying in coming, and begins to beat his fellow servants, eat and drink with the drunkards, the master of that servant will come on a day when he's not looking for him, and an hour that he's not aware of. Once again, a day he's not looking, an hour he's not aware of. Will cut him in two and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Be sure that we're living right, no matter how long it is, no matter how long it takes. We need not get lazy and start dabbling in the world again. Even for the believer could sometimes fall. It's been 10 years. Maybe I just do a little something. Don't do it. Mark 13:32-37. But the day and hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven or the Son, but only the Father. Take heed, watch, and pray, for you do not know when the time is. It's like a man going to a far country who left his house and gave authority to his servants to each his work, commanded the doorkeeper to watch. Watch, therefore, for you do not know when the master of the house is coming, in the evening, at midnight, at the crowing of the rooster, in the morning, lest coming suddenly he find you sleeping. And what I say to you, I say to all, watch. Don't give up hope, fellow believer. The Lord is coming back. We may be enduring, but it's all going to be over soon. Probably sooner than we think, even though sometimes it doesn't seem that way. The Lord is coming back and he's on his way. All the signs are here. There's other things to take note of, sure, and you see things shaping up and happening, just like the Bible said it would. But all the signs are here and happening. We don't need to constantly rack our brains. We see it happening all around us. Watch and pray. Be encouraged. He's coming back. The time is soon. This is the last hour. Don't give up hope. Keep on keeping on. Sometimes in life, you're just keep on keeping on. I keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing what he told me to do. And one day, it's going to happen. And one day, we're going to be reunited with him in the air. I hope you enjoyed this and have a good night.